Hi guys, and welcome back to a new hands-on video by Mirror Lessons, and today I'm going to show you the new 10.5mm prime lens by Voigtlander for the Micro Four Thirds system. This is the fourth lens released under the Voigtlander brand for Panasonic Olympus cameras. It's a full manual lens, and what's interesting is it has a very fast aperture, it's 0.95 like the other three lenses. It's a completely manual lens, which means there is no autofocus, there is no optical stabilization, there is no electronic contact on the lens, which means that you won't have your aperture recording the EXIF data. But it has other interesting characteristics. The lens is heavy, it's more than half a kilo, but it's very well built, it's all metal. You have an aperture ring on front of the lens. You can actually turn it in half stops and goes from 0.95 to f16, which is the slowest aperture this lens has. Another nice characteristic for video is that you can actually deactivate the clicking mechanism of the aperture ring. You just turn this ring in the middle here and the aperture ring becomes very smooth and without any clicking mechanism. You have also a full mechanical focusing ring, which is very nice to use, and actually you have to turn it a lot from infinity to the closest distance, which is 17 centimeters, so you can actually get very precise focusing with this lens, and that's also a nice characteristic for video as well. And another nice characteristic, of course, is that you have a distance scale on the lens, so that makes it a good alternative to use only the focus peaking and the magnification of the camera, and it's very useful for street photographers and landscape photographers as well. The lens also comes with a metal hood, and it can be easily unscrewed and screwed like this. The lens is not light, but on the OMD M1, thanks to the prominent grip, it feels well balanced and it feels good in the hand. What about image quality? Well, we just received the lens yesterday and we took a few shots with it, but we haven't got a chance yet to test it completely. But from what we saw so far, I think that this lens is on par with the other Voigtlander lenses for Micro Four Thirds. This is not a lens you want to buy if sharpness and resolution is your main concern. They're doing fine, but they're not as sharp as Zuiko lenses or Panasonic Lumix lenses. But there are other characteristics that makes it unique. It's very fast, 0.95 aperture will give you a lot of shallow depth of field. Now 10.5mm is of course a wide angle lens, it's the equivalent of 21mm on full frame, so you won't have as much shallow depth of field as the other lenses, but still there is a lot to work with, especially because this lens can focus as close as 17 centimeters, so you can get some creative shots as well. At 0.95, don't expect it to be crazy sharp, but when you stop down a little bit, it becomes better. There is some trace of chromatic aberration. We also notice some barrel distortion. This lens is also interesting for video usage as with the other Voigtlander lenses. It's a very interesting match for the Panasonic GH3, the Panasonic GH4, and also Blackmagic cinema cameras, because often Blackmagic cinema cameras like the pocket camera have a smaller sensor than Micro Four Thirds, and the crop factor becomes 3 and not 2. So with the 10.5mm you would still have something like around a 30mm on full frame format equivalent, which gives you a good wide angle view anyway, so that's definitely something to consider for stills but also video. Now, as I told you at the beginning, the lens doesn't have any electronic contact on the mount. As you can see for yourself, there isn't anything that will transmit your aperture value to the camera and to the EXIF data. Of course, if you shoot with this lens all day at various aperture and then you download all your images into Lightroom or another software, you might not remember every picture you took, which aperture you had. So the best way, in my opinion, to memorize the aperture you use for every picture, at least with the OMD M1, is to, once you play back the picture, you can actually record a short audio memo. It's something that I saw a lot with photojournalists that sometimes will record the name of a person they just photographed. And what's nice is then in the SD card, the audio file will have the same exact name as your picture. So that way you can remember exactly the aperture you use by just simply recording it with your voice on the camera. It's useful. You don't have to do it with every picture, but you can do it every time you change the aperture, so that you have a chronological order, and you can easily check every time you use a different aperture. So that's it for this hands-on video. I hope you liked it, and of course don't hesitate to ask any question about the lens, and also make sure to check our website mirrorlessons.com, because the full review will be online soon, and with more image samples and more in-depth tests about the lens performance. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.